hold on, everybody. Hold on for a second. So make this clear. Why do you think monks are delusional? Why do you think monk life is fake? Do you think that meditation is fake? Meditation is in fact very real. I don't know where your neighborhood is, but I'm not in a hurry to go and do something in your neighborhood. I'll just be where I am. I think there's a space. Sometimes very dangerous neighborhoods are a lot more open and flexible than you'd think that they are. You know, where they might see a person meditating and they might be curious about that. They might ask about it. You know, what are you doing there? What kind of practice are you doing? You know, what's this about? And then asking questions deeply like that, you can learn something new. You can get a new experience, new perspective. I'm not unemployed. I'm a meditation teacher. I teach meditation. I'm a non-duality coach. A coach for non-duality. I mostly align myself with Zen Buddhism, Chan Buddhism. Yeah, I can make enough through donations to support myself. A non-duality is like, it's like not right or wrong, not black or white, not inside or outside, not good or bad. So it's like instead of getting caught up in the differences, you just get into awareness. Or you just recognize, you just realize awareness. Evil is just like energy, just like goodness. So that people or situations or things seem to be evil, yeah, but it's more like people cause suffering and human beings don't want to suffer. So that's evil, but it's not like that's evil according to some universal law of good and bad or right and wrong. It's like unskillful. We cause suffering to another person or we cause suffering to ourselves, so then we have to deal with that. A lot of people these days, mostly Americans, they don't know what to do with themselves. The technology for their mind is very limited, and they don't know how to be free from their thoughts. So it's like their thoughts dominate their lives. Yeah, there's no universal law of evil or universal law of good. There's no universal like words. Words are just sounds, like pointers. So you say cat, you're pointing to a cat, something that exists on this planet. But like, is there evil on Jupiter? Is there evil on the moon? It's just like an idea. It's like a story that we tell ourselves. You deal with crimes in Buddhism the way you should deal with crimes in the world, with compassion, with kindness. This doesn't have anything to do with nihilism or avoidance. Because people don't know how to stop thinking, it means that their thinking is very erratic and unstable. So their ego is totally destabilized. And they're constantly jumping around from one thought to another. And they believe that that thought that they're hanging on to is like a part of a continuous narrative, like a congruent stream of logic and reasoning. But actually, it's not. It's just what you happen to be attached to at this moment. And you're basically arbitrarily attached to that. You're compulsively thinking rather than thinking particular things for particular reasons. So it's like you're addicted to thinking, nonstop thinking. And non-duality or enlightenment in Buddhism or cultivation is to step back from your thinking and to be aware. Oh, there are no people. People is also just a thought. So we know reality through our own minds, through our own experience. The deeper you experience your own mind, the more that you know about reality, or at least the principles of reality. No, 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 it has nothing to do with nihilism. It's Buddhism, non-duality in Buddhism. I have no idea what you're talking about, Dream Big. Creation 7-7, what are you saying there? I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being weird. Everybody is weird. Raise your hand if you're not in some way weird. Kamsamida. The meaning is just in what works or what doesn't. So it's like when you have to use the toilet, you don't have to think about using the toilet. You don't have to think about if using the toilet on yourself is good or bad. So it's like you pooping on yourself literally is not magically or universally or specially good or bad, right? We usually would think that it's bad if you poop on yourself, if you poop in your own pants. But if you poop in your own pants, you'll have to deal with that. You'll have to deal with having shitty pants. So we give a lot more importance to thoughts than thoughts are actually owed. Because most of us, we're not scientists, we're not philosophers, we're not CEOs, or we're not managing people, we don't have any social authority in the world. We're not even in community. So most of our thoughts are just compulsive, complicated, non-practical thinking. And we become basically addicted to that. Yeah, still have no idea what you're talking about at all, Dream Big. Maybe you can try to explain it. That's great, M. Lucky. That's a really good book to read. Yeah, it's probably for most people, it's more important to not understand than to focus so much on understanding. Because when you focus so much on understanding, it's like you can't learn anything new. Like you're in a box of your own thoughts that you've taped shut because it's like you constantly have to be knowing and understanding. But a lot of things you don't know, a lot of things you don't understand. Like I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years. In 2018, I moved to Thailand and I became a monk when I was 25. So I had no idea about monks. I had no idea about that culture and that society. I knew about Buddhism and meditation because I'd practiced that before, but I didn't know about what it meant to be a monk. And that's kind of what allowed me to go and become a monk in the way that I did, is that I was okay with not knowing. The most important thing to kind of get started with is like being a good person. If you don't prioritize to be a good person, your life is just going to be completely lost in thoughts about your desires and your fears. And you'll just be compulsively acting and reacting according to desire and fear, or what you want and what you don't want. And then in this constant compulsive action of seeking after what you want and trying to avoid what you don't want, all of these thoughts will like build up in the mind, and your ego will become thoughts that don't realize what you're doing moment by moment. So the first thing to do is kind of plant the seed of your intention to be a good person and to be mindful, right? And this is a kind of technology that has really been lost in America, right? To really be mindful, to really be aware, to actually be in the here and now. And I tell you, we get thousands and thousands of viewers here in these live streams. There are so many deranged and mentally ill people coming from America. I'm not joking about that. And we have like pretty bad standards, I think, for what mental illness means and what it means to be deranged, because we're so isolated and we learn about our culture and our kind of social life is just through consuming media. But we Americans are a deranged people, deeply mentally ill people that have lost all kind of dignity, social decorum, communicate capacity to communicate, all sense of respect, etc. No, but it's not just this chat. I mean, because sometimes I'll be streaming for 8 or 20 hours or 8 hours a day, and we'll have tens of thousands of people coming through. And I cannot tell you how mentally ill and deranged and confused people in America are, en masse. Just completely unaware of themselves, completely unaware of like being. So, and we also have the seeds of that inside of ourselves when we get lost in nonstop complicated thinking, or when we get lost in our anger, our greed, or our delusion, you know. So it's kind of, if you can say, hey, I am a crazy person, you can be a lot less crazy than you would otherwise be. And there's a lot of shame around mental health issues. So most people go their whole lives through, being quite mentally ill and never telling anybody about it, and just forming these coping mechanisms, that kind of keep them able to take care of themselves, but not really there, not really present for themselves. Yeah, maybe it's just the majority on YouTube Shorts. Oh, morality is derived through skillfulness and unskillfulness, just like shitting your pants. So you don't need universal morality to understand if you shit your pants, you're going to have to deal with that. You're going to stink. So suffering is just like stinking. And so if you cause yourself to stink and you cause others to stink, that's the way that it is. It doesn't need to be explained. You know what I mean? So what should be taught in schools is not some kind of belief in God or belief in a universal truth of good and bad, but in being skillful. Being skillful to know how to deal with our hearts, our minds, our bodies, our emotions, our psychology, through generosity, through compassion, through forgiveness, through patience, etc. Not that it's easy, and not that it feels pleasurable. It's not about being easy and feeling pleasurable. It's about awareness, to be aware. To be aware instead of lost in thoughts. And I also learn a lot by doing these live streams because I get to tune into people's mental illnesses. And in some way they know that they're mentally ill, but it's just the nonstop thinking. It's the nonstop complicatedness that keeps them kind of locked in the box of being ill. Yeah, be careful, subscriber. The people that you spend time around, they deeply influence you. They deeply influence your mind. There's a lot of different perspectives. There's a lot of ways to look at reality. So what I say is, don't lock yourself into a box of complicated thinking. Don't lock yourself into a box of one particular view. Right? Your view, the view or the perspective that you're holding on to, that's just one view. That's a view. But it's not like some universal or ultimate view. You're making it a universal or ultimate view because you're attaching to it or clinging to it. And that clinging causes you all kinds of suffering, causes you all kinds of problems. No, awareness is not good or bad. Awareness doesn't depend on words. Yeah, just opinions, just ideas, just thoughts. It's up to you how you make use of it. So the real principle and the practice here is to bring thoughts down to zero. To bring thoughts down to zero. And that's why a lot of people here, their mental illnesses are very clearly exposed. Because this is a practice concerned with bringing thoughts down to zero and not allowing further thoughts to arise. It's a thought cultivation. And then, other than knowing how to do that, reflecting on serenity, reflecting on awareness. So some people can understand that, some people can't, but it's a lot less difficult than you might think to not think. It's actually quite accessible to not think. So people need to, in general, Americans need to develop their appreciation or their understanding of the reality of not thinking and not like needing to force people to think. You're not thinking, that means this, this, and this. I'm going to force you to think. And that really is how we tend to be. What's the purpose in not thinking? The purpose in not thinking is to gain dominion over your own mind, to be able to decide how you feel, to be able to decide how you think. Because right now you're just nonstop, constantly thinking. You can't stop thinking. You don't know how to stop thinking, basically. And because you can't stop thinking, you are controlled by all of the random thoughts that flow in and flow out. thoughts in the environment, thoughts in yourself. You're constantly being influenced and manipulated by conspiracy theories, by thoughts, etc. Well, for whatever reason, this live stream mainly gets recommended to American people. So, yeah, so you could see it as a kind of way to wash your brain. Because when you're constantly thinking, it's like you're constantly poisoning your mind. Your mind is constantly being poisoned and covered over and covered up, right? And you don't understand that you don't know how to stop thinking, but you think that you are the one that's thinking. So you're not actually in control. You just think that you are, but you believe that you're in control, but that control is just another thought. It's just another belief. And remember, you don't have to be here. You're here as a guest in my house, in my YouTube live stream. I'm here as a teacher, and you're here as a listener or an observer, but if you're going to be here, be respectful, be on good behavior. Don't come in here and show your ass. Yeah, to reprogram your realm, you can think of it like that. Oh, I'm a meditation teacher. I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years, so I do this as a way to help and to share my experience, to share my knowledge. We've all got to do something. No, this isn't my opinion. This is my law. These are my principles. This is my doctrine. And it's such a shame how disingenuous and disassociated and disillusioned people are. I mean, really, it's a shame. Like, get a hold of yourself. Like, there's no excuse for you to be acting this way, you know, like a complete fool. Just saying random things and pretending that you know about me and all these kinds of things. Get it together. You know, how were you raised? What are your principles to be acting like this to another human being? You see what I'm saying? Oh, really, AXO? It's really cool. Yeah, I like that edit. They did a great job. Are you here to just hear yourself speak and just make up bullshit? Or are you actually here to listen? Because this is my live stream. This is my teaching platform. Right. So why are they doing that? Why are people trying to chase any kind of reaction from me? Why are people trying to get any kind of attention from me? Why are they doing that? Entertainment. Yes, so they see this as an object of an object that's appearing in awareness that's kind of supposed to be entertaining them, right? That's what they think. Yeah, so they're confused and frustrated and etc. because this is not entertaining, but they think that it's supposed to be entertaining. They think that I'm supposed to be entertaining them. Very interesting. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the message that I'm supposed to be entertaining you. Because a lot of the people who scroll on YouTube Shorts are completely addicted to watching YouTube videos and watching YouTube short videos and disassociating. Oh, I don't care about how I feel about it. I don't care about I. I can see through I. I is not real. Self is not real. This isn't a movie that I can put in the VCR and watch over and over again. This is an unfolding. Nothing is everything. I don't believe in I. I don't follow the religion of I, of self, of a real true person and a real true story. I don't believe in that. Yes, think not to think. Remember, I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years. So if you're pretending that you know about Buddhism and being a monk and meditation when you don't, you're the one who's culturally appropriating. A lot of people's intelligence, and not everybody is particularly intelligent, right? But a lot of people's intelligence is strongly suppressed because of how much attachments they have to random thoughts. This is it's a overflowing of mental illness. And we have to be able to laugh at ourselves, don't we? You know, if we don't know how to laugh at ourselves, we become really disgusting, vile human beings. You know what I mean? And they also see it. The people who watch it also see it directly. They know that they're acting completely inappropriately right now. So this is just like a mirror. People are a lot less intelligent than they think that they are, and they're also a lot less stupid than they think that they are. No, actually, I've thought that, and most of the people who come here and act like this are not children. You'll have people that are making statements that they literally sound like they're 12 years old or 14 years old, and then you ask them, and they're like 32. And that's a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans have fallen through the cracks. Of course, there's well-rounded people, there's generous people, there's doctors, there's skillful, mindful, compassionate people in America, but there are a lot of people that are falling through the cracks. And in America, it's not just that you fall through the cracks, but in those cracks, you get all of this overflowing of things to feed your ego, you know? So it's a lot of arrogance, a lot of greed, a lot of anger, a lot of delusion. Okay, I love you too. Yeah, and to also realize that this live stream is not about you. This live stream is like my house. This live stream is like my meditation center. This live stream is like me sitting and giving a talk about meditation and Buddhism. Yeah, but America has a specific problem because there's not really a culture in America. American culture is like directly linked to slavery and segregation and advertising firms. You know what I mean? I mean, that's American culture is advertising and consumption and slavery and post-slavery. And UK also has tons of problems, but they have a culture kind of background of that. Right, and sugar addiction and cheeseburgers. So it's not black and white, it's just a way to, sometimes we have to talk about something. No, America is unique.
Attention to all unit staff, the order 1 p.m. Your bus number PPF 9555. Your bus will be at platform number 1.
Oh, thanks, Luke. To Kuala Lumpur we go.
Hello.
Yeah, it's conscious and it's experimental, and it's always changing. It's not something solid and informal. So from America, from the U.S., but my accent changed a lot from traveling around. Um, well, I've been on many journeys in my life. I've left many times. My life and my experience and my situation. Uh, so this is just a continuation of my original leaving, trying to get away from my suffering and trying to understand myself, to be able to be free and to be at peace. So that journey continues. Formerly of 7 years living as a Buddhist monk, and now as a wanderer, as a traveler. Here you go, sir. Yes, my name, Robert Davis. And it's really remarkable. 7 years, I've seen people who've been a monk for a few months and then they make it their whole identity, and they're writing articles based on the fact that they were a monk for a few months, or they're leading retreats and running retreat centers based on them being a monk for a couple months. So it's a big change to live like that and to be a part of a different culture and a society. But I don't do things in the normal way. I'm not interested in conforming to the conventions of the society or the world. Um, I was a real monk. I was a real monk for 7 years, and just going to take things step by step and see how it develops and see how it goes. So I try to give people access to my life, and then if they are inspired to support me, then I can keep living my life in this way and see what happens. I just don't know how it would work, because you really need connections. It has to happen naturally. So if I had an invitation to do some kind of teaching, to do a retreat, then I'd be open to that. But I'm not in a hurry, you know, I'm still a young man, so it maybe takes some time before those opportunities open up more. I think there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of developing in just age, just time, you know, so allowing time to process, especially as you turn towards the Dhamma, you know, you turn towards awakening or awareness. And tell me what you're going through, Luke, and I'll share a little bit if I can. Well, that's their experience. So it was meaningful for them. And it's difficult to stay as a monk. I think it's about a 6-hour ride. I hope so. Sometimes I worry a little bit that it's too, you know, that I should try to do it better or more formal or be, you know, giving classes the way other people give classes and teaching in the way that other people teach. So it means a lot that it does bring benefit. Because I know where I came from mentally and spiritually, you know, socially, internally. I know where I came from. And that's how I know that my method, however it expresses itself, however it goes, works. It's inside of myself, you know, beyond the intellect. So I can trust that experience, you know, even though it's not according to like conventions of how, you know, maybe normal people don't act the way that I am normally acting, um, but where there's a rhyme, there's a reason. No, that's Thailand. That was Thailand. And monks are normal people. Monks are human beings. So, and I find this brings me a lot of happiness just to share. That worry is just energy. It's just energy. And so you be there for that energy and don't take it too seriously. And don't um, don't let that energy overwhelm you to make you do something big or confusing. So I've actually noticed that previously, before I would make a big change or like a next step in my life, that there would be a lot of sexual energy around that changing and that transitioning. And as much as you can, just let that energy process inside of itself, and don't do anything crazy with it. Let it be there, let it be inside yourself, and that'll just help move you along in that transition. Because I think it's very evolutionary, it's very biological, that as we're moving to a new place, that's a really interesting experience because we've never been to that place before. And also we've never been in the process of going to that place before. And then it's very confronting. So I try to be very confronting. Uh, how are you trying to meditate, Luke? Describe how you're trying to meditate. No, you shouldn't let go of all your worldly possessions. You should just try to be more generous with your worldly possessions. Try to be more generous with your body, be more generous with your mind, be more generous with your time. Luke, you can't do that, brother. You got to listen to me closely. If you want to meditate and you want to take meditation seriously and you want to keep going in this direction, you've got to be listening to Dharma talks, okay? You've got to have Dharma talks on the ready. Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, Cyber Knight. Don't be a daft fool. Don't act like an idiot, okay? Is practicing generosity communism? Is sharing what you have communism? You're a disingenuous communist, and disingenuous communists aren't welcome here. You have to have Dharma talks on the ready, Luke. That's a big part of this process. That's a big part of what I teach here. Make sure you have these names written down. Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh. Okay, well, you have to listen to what I'm saying right now. Sid, say something deep, say something impactful. Now you're just skating on the surface saying that you can go deep, but you're not showing anything that's deep. You're just speaking in platitudes about your idea of someone else. But that's not what I do. I don't talk about my idea of someone else in particular. That's just ego games. I talk about habits that don't belong to anybody. Habits of thought, habits of mental action, physical action. No, that's not the right spelling, Luke. Can somebody spell that out for Luke? I'll get it. I'll put it down here. Well, Sid, this is my YouTube channel to talk about Buddhism and meditation and mindfulness and detachment. So if you're interested in those things, you have to give me more information so I can support you to know about those things. Okay? I'm one of the best of the best of the best. Okay? I went to the promised land and I brought back the fruits. So you can say a little bit of nonsense, Sid, but don't let your ego get in the way of this experience. Okay? How many people you know that went to be a Buddhist monk for 7 years? It's not really about becoming a Buddhist. It's more about becoming aware of awareness. And then making a commitment to be a more generous and just a more good person. A person who recognizes negative states of mind and doesn't feed them. A person who recognizes positive states of mind and works with them. Supports them, facilitates them. Who do you know that facilitates positive states of mind? That's what the Dhamma talks are about. You have to know people who facilitate positive states of mind that are informed by wisdom, not just pleasure, not just Kundalini sex retreats in Bali. Yeah, Kai Rasa is writing down the names for you, Luke. Thich Nhat Hanh. That's good. Just incorporate listening to Dhamma talks. You have to begin to practice, Luke, detaching from your own understanding. Then you can make quick progress to detach from your own understanding. Look at these names, all right? Listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth, Luke. Listen closely. Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh. Write these words down like a mantra, okay? Search these names on YouTube. Listen to the talks as guided meditation. And this is for anybody here. These are your instructions. This is your Samaya instructions. This is a very important moment. If you're being a practitioner and you're being serious about going further in the path of mindfulness and detachment and enlightenment and Buddhism. These are Samaya instructions from your Guru, Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, Heartwood Refuge. Search these names on YouTube. Listen to the talks as guided meditation. It's not about how much or how long or how many or whatever. You just make that a part of your meditation. That's all. Simple. Well, Ariella, you should realize that your thoughts about yourself are just thoughts about yourself. That's not really who you are. So your thoughts about reality are just thoughts about reality. It's not really what reality is. So this gives us an opening into awareness. And with that opening into awareness, you can allow a certain kind of closeness with yourself that's not based on your thoughts about yourself. The last thing you want to do for anything is overthink it. Thinking is overrated. So instead of trying to figure out Buddhist philosophy or how to try to solve your ego or whatever, just follow the Samaya instructions. Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, Heartwood Refuge. Search these names on YouTube. Listen to the talks as guided meditation. It's like going to a casino where you're definitely going to win and where you don't have to pay anything. So we have to become, it seems like we're already those kinds of people, right? But we actually have to become the kind of people that will go to the casino that doesn't cost anything where we are guaranteed to win. And if you go and check and you see for yourself, you will experience that. You go and look for those names on YouTube and you listen to some of those talks, you will experience that. If you don't, you get a money back guarantee from me. I will give you back all your effort that you exerted to listen to those talks. And the same, you don't have to be interested in Buddhism or meditation or enlightenment to get value from these people. Okay? Because just like what I said before, right? We need to have, as human beings, as people who are on the path, we need to have relationships with people that know how to cultivate positive states of mind, informed by wisdom, informed by compassion, so that we can have them in our wheelhouse. So we're not just alone and looking to the person at Starbucks to be our mentor or our boyfriend or whatever, but we have these resources, and you're not going to know unless you go and see for yourself. It's not about being nice and smart. Being nice and smart is about the stupidest characteristic that you could use to determine who you're going to be in relationships with. Wise and compassionate, mindful and unattached, willing to let go of everything, of anything, to help and to be at peace. Luke Hawks, you desire. You're not broken, you're not lame, but you just need to have faith in the Samaya instructions, in the sadhana instructions. This is your instruction from your teacher, from your big brother Bante, your big brother Mr. Rob, okay? So listen to the Dhamma talks. And you have to stop wanting to get this progress. Progress in meditation comes when you stop wanting and stop seeking. Ajahn Brahm says it's like sitting underneath a mango tree in peace and in awareness and waiting for a mango to fall on your head. So, what we learn then in this kind of training is to bring thoughts down to zero. Now, if you know that you have difficulty bringing thoughts down to zero when you're out in the world, when things are going kind of difficult, that means you need to practice doing this when things are not so difficult. So bring thoughts down to zero and keep thoughts from coming up. Keep more thoughts from coming up. And then more thoughts come up and you bring thoughts back down to zero. But for a lot of people, for a lot of us, a lot of the times, we're just involved with our egos. We're not really interested in transformation or no self or enlightenment. So you have to let go because you can't always be in control. You can't control the temperature. You can't control what other people think about you. You could, I'm on a bus. This is a 5 hour bus. I don't think they stop for a toilet. And it's possible that I could have fiery, hot, explosive diarrhea. And that's just life. You've got to deal with it. And a part of dealing with it might be that you shit yourself. And are you going to have a panic attack because it's possible for you to shit yourself? It's possible for everybody to shit themselves, and you're not having a panic attack. So that's what life is like when you start to look closely at it. Life is like you've eaten something, you've taken something in that's given you hot, fiery, explosive diarrhea. It hasn't come up yet. You haven't realized it yet, but that's actually what's going to happen. Birth or sickness, old age, and death is waiting, is coming. And you are on a bus ride. You are on a bus ride of attachment. So the question is, are you ready to shit yourself and be free? Because that's what it takes. And where do you want to practice doing that? Do you want to practice shitting yourself and being free at the office, when you're dealing with a lot of things, when you're in turmoil in life? Or do you want to practice shitting yourself when you're right here and right now, in your home, in your room? You know what I mean? Yeah. There's nothing inherently wrong with anything. And that's really difficult thing to digest, but that's why the world is the way that it is. If there's something inherently wrong with anything, do you think Gaza and Palestine, we just all say, well, that's the way that the world is? No, we'd be marching in the streets. We'd be giving up our homes and our possessions to say, this is, we can't accept this. So there's nothing inherently wrong or universally bad about anything. Things are just happening. Cause and effect is just happening. But you can either learn how to go in accords with cause and effect, or go in accords with impermanence, or you can be overwhelmed and overcome by it. And it might not just be you that shits yourself, it might be your neighbor. What are you going to do? Are you going to attack your neighbor on the bus because they've defecated themselves? Um, sure. Private coaching is available. Private coaching is available on a per diem basis. So once you once you bring up your per diem, then you can approach me and say, I'd like to offer you this donation for some of your time. I'll say, sure. But don't be cheap. When World War III starts, we're going to practice mindfulness and detaching. But right now, I'm going to Kuala Lumpur. The very sky opens up before us. But RKS Mutual, I don't really know what you're asking or what you're saying. So you might have to clarify that for me. It's a secret. It's a secret. Well, you don't need to go beyond your understanding. Just and develop much more quickly. If you are attaching, then you just move very slowly as your understanding builds. But if you can detach from, if you can abandon your own understanding, then you can receive fully the mind of the teacher. This, there's Dhamma teachers that you can connect with just through YouTube. There's a time like that before, so it's very precious. Oh, thank you, Sonika. Yeah, these live streams are really, really wonderful. Really a great gift for me, and I think other people can feel that as well. So, selling a life coach plan, I love that. I love that idea. Who's ready to buy my life coach plan? How much are you going to pay? How much? How much should I charge for my life coach plan? What do you think, Cyber? Buddha coach. I hope so. I hope that's the way that it is. Make it free. How am I going to support myself if it's free? Cyber Knight. Luke, listen. How to become a real monk in 60 days charging $40 monthly. All right, let's try it. Let's see. Let's try that. See what happens here. But really, to do those kinds of things, you have to have like a big marketing budget. And sure, I'd love to be on the other end of 100 USD, 100%. From this will be 5 hours, and then I'll stay tonight in a capsule hotel, a space themed capsule hotel. Going to a place, a secret place that I'm very fond of, and I'm going to rent an apartment for a month at that place and continue teaching. Malaysia has been great. Has been a real learning experience for me, and have the opportunity to remember that this is a good place to come back to. And as I may find myself in different Southeast Asian countries, um, it's good to know where I can go. Favorites that, well, the one that we've been working with recently in our live streams is to realize awareness is liberation. And we've actually got our Kindle charged up. This Kindle, there's just something about it, about having your library with you. It's very comforting. This is very comforting to me to always keep this nearby. The light of the Spirit not being obscured is a good strategy for all time. When you enter this school, don't keep intellectual interpretation. How extraordinary of the ancient ones to make a model so revealing, so clear, so simple and direct, so close. If you see it at one look, why necessarily specially line up and go forth and back? Those who have just entered the community don't have a clue. To be sure, but how about those who have practiced for a long time? Do they know? Do you know? When I say clear, this is already obscuring. When I say revealing, this is already covering up. When I say simple and direct, this is already making complications. When I say close, this is already alienating. How to avoid these errors? This seal of truth of mind is all pervasive without any omission. It pervades all time with no interruption. Now tell me, can you obscure that? Can you cover that up? Can you alienate that? If you want to know it intimately, first of all, don't arbitrarily discriminate subjectively in your physical heart. Don't arbitrarily distinguish near and far subjectively. Don't arbitrarily discriminate other and self subjectively. Don't arbitrarily judge victory and defeat subjectively. As soon as you do this, you miss. The moment you let go, you are clear, open and fluid, aloof, peaceful and at ease. Encountering situations, whatever the conditions, you act on your own appropriately. The moment you let go, you are clear, open, and fluid, aloof, peaceful, and encountering situations, whatever the conditions, you act on your own appropriately. When you get here, the slightest hair tip is pollution. How much the more if you think discriminating other self, victory and defeat, seeking the subtle way of Buddhas and patriarchs with a cleverly deceitful mind. This bunch of seekers are truly pitiful. In the community, there is a type of brethren who, seeing the chief elder lecture views, indiscriminately take what he says and make a point of whatever they think of it, passing this on to one another as fact. Ouch. Why not melt down other and self, affirmation and negation into insight? Now instead, they turn insight into other and self, affirmation and negation. This is what is meant by the saying that ghee of the finest flavor prized by the world turns into poison with this kind of person. Now I am giving a true account. If you recognize your error for a moment and let it all go, temporarily turning attention around, then you will be the same as if you'd always had realization. Previous thought and discrimination, other and self, winning and losing, will die out at once. Have you ever done this? Even if you have, you're still not there. Why not hurry up and seek a definitive conclusion? Haven't you seen how in ancient times there was a mendicant who said to the Buddha, "My view of your teaching is right, but my realization isn't yet. What is your guidance?" Buddha said, "Hey, mendicant so and so, what is your guidance? This you ask me." In speaking thus, did the Buddha guide him or not? I once remarked, continuously and closely applying effort, no perception at all, and no realization, at one call responding accordingly, the eyes are horizontal, the nose vertical. Even so, there is still no cutoff. You must smash even the model to smithereens in order to attain. And haven't you seen how the sixth patriarch said, "Not seeing a single thing keeps a view of nothingness, much like floating clouds blocking the sun. Not knowing a single thing maintains knowledge of voidness, like a flash of lightning in the sky. This knowledge and perception at once produce misunderstanding. How does this understand expedience?" Once you can recognize your own error, your own spiritual light will always be manifest. This is what those who maintain knowledge and perception say. If you have no perception at all, then what? Well, we don't charge money here. We try to explain the situation and encourage people to be inspired to donate and to support. So just keep it simple and keep it based in human to human connection. But really, what it's okay, cyber. It's a good idea. But it's kind of your fault for wanting to be here. You can't blame me for that. And if you do want to be here and practice here, um, you can support, you can donate, you can help me to continue doing this in bigger and bigger ways. Data, everything is paid for through donations because I don't have anything. I don't have a job. I'm a dharma bum and beggar. I forgive you, cyber. I forgive you. Who says I'm not doing drugs? Don't make things up, Hyber. You know better than that.
agul, kotoran agul, kotoran ya sudah betul, kalau itu nada deh. Son muito fácil, só para mais.
Utara, Utara. Ada. Center ya, center ya.